Ever wonder how the United States went from a brand new nation to the world's financial powerhouse? It wasn't magic, and it definitely wasn't easy. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 5 pivotal moments that completely reshaped American finance. We'll uncover the secrets, the struggles, and the strokes of genius that built the system we know today. Stick around, because you're about to see American history in a whole new light. Let's start at the very beginning, right after the Revolutionary War. The young United States was broke, disorganized, and drowning in debt. Enter Alexander Hamilton, a man with a vision, his radical idea, a national bank. In 1791, the first Bank of the United States was born. This wasn't just a building, it was a financial revolution. For the first time, America had a single, stable currency, a way to manage its debt, and a system to provide credit to fuel growth. The bank was controversial, with critics like Thomas Jefferson fearing it gave the federal government too much power. But Hamilton's gamble paid off. It stabilized the economy, fostered trade, and laid the financial foundation for the nation's future. It proved that a unified financial system was not just possible, but essential for America's survival and prosperity. It was the first giant leap. Now let's fast forward a bit. As America grew, so did its fortunes. This gave rise to something we're all fascinated by: old money. Think of names like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, and Astor. These weren't just wealthy families. They were dynasties that shaped industries, politics, and culture. But what's the real secret behind old money? It's not just about having a lot of it. It's about keeping it. Their strategy was built on 3 pillars: preservation, privacy, and power. They didn't chase flashy trends. Instead, they invested in tangible assets like land, art, and blue-chip stocks. They set up complex trusts and foundations to pass wealth down through generations while minimizing taxes and public scrutiny. Privacy was paramount. They avoided the spotlight, understanding that true power operates quietly. This wasn't about hoarding wealth. It was a long-term strategy for influence, ensuring their family's legacy and control would endure for centuries. The secrets of old money are less about earning it and more about mastering the art of keeping it. Of course, family dynasties weren't the only forces at play. The government itself has made game-changing moves throughout history. We're talking about key financial policies that altered the course of the nation. One of the biggest was the 16th Amendment in 1913, which introduced the federal income tax. Before this, the government was funded mainly by tariffs. The income tax fundamentally changed the relationship between citizens and the government, creating a new, massive revenue stream to fund everything from infrastructure to the military. Another game-changer was the New Deal in the 1930s. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's policies, like the creation of the FDIC to ensure bank deposits, and Social Security to provide a safety net for the elderly, permanently expanded the government's role in the economy. These weren't just temporary fixes. They were profound shifts that redefined American capitalism and are still debated to this very day. And what about the actual money in our pockets? It hasn't always been the green paper we know. The story of U.S. currency is a fascinating evolution from gold to greenbacks. For much of its history, America was on the gold standard. This meant that every dollar was backed by a specific amount of physical gold held by the government. You could, in theory, walk into a bank and exchange your paper money for gold. This created stability but also limited the money supply. During the Civil War, the government needed to fund the war effort and couldn't be constrained by its gold reserves. So they started printing greenbacks, paper money not backed by gold. This was a huge shift. The real nail in the coffin for the gold standard came in 1971, when President Nixon officially severed the link between the dollar and gold. This ushered in the era of fiat currency, where money has value simply because the government says it does. This move gave the Federal Reserve immense flexibility to manage the economy, but also opened the door to new challenges like inflation. Finally, we can't talk about American finance without confronting its darkest hour, the Great Depression. The stock market crash of 1929 triggered a decade of economic devastation that reshaped the nation's psyche and its financial system forever. Banks failed by the thousands, wiping out the life savings of ordinary Americans. Unemployment skyrocketed to 25%. The Depression exposed the deep flaws in the unregulated, freewheeling capitalism of the 1920s. In response, the government stepped in like never before. The Glass-Steagall Act separated commercial and investment banking to prevent risky speculation with depositors' money. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, was created to police the stock market and protect investors from fraud. These weren't just new rules. They were a complete reimagining of the government's role as a referee in the financial markets. The Great Depression was a traumatic lesson, but it forced America to build a more resilient, regulated, and ultimately a more stable financial system for the future. From Hamilton's visionary bank to the digital dollars of today, America's financial journey is a story of innovation, crisis, and constant reinvention. Each of these moments, the birth of the national bank, the strategies of old money, transformative government policies, the evolution of our currency, and the hard lessons of the Great Depression are crucial chapters in that story. They show us how the system we live in was built, piece by piece, often in response to incredible challenges. Understanding this past isn't just an academic exercise. It helps us make sense of the financial world we navigate every single day. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey through America's financial history as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which of these financial turning points you think was the most important. See you in the next video.